When you play the Game of Thrones,
Subscribe and like.
you die. There is no middle ground.
Welcome back to the Grease Goblins YouTube channel. Today's video, we're going to talk about, did Viserys II, the youngest child of Rhaenyra Targaryen and Daemon Targaryen, did he end up poisoning Baelor the Blessed, his older brother Aegon III's son? And this is an interesting topic because we see that there is some rumors within the Westeros that Baelor the Blessed actually was poisoned. Now, there's a couple reasons for this. Yes, the common folk remember Baelor the Blessed quite fondly. He did a lot of things that were similar to, say, Aegon V, for instance. He did a lot of charity, and he did things that made him seem like this spiritual, like, I don't know, devout follower. Some people may view Baelor the Blessed in Westeros as kind of like a Jesus-type person, right? That he is just above them spiritually, is kind of the way I think a lot of people in Westeros that were especially in the South would have viewed Baelor the Blessed. Now, a lot more educated people that would have read about Baelor and studied his reign know he was a pretty bad king. Baelor the Blessed was a horrible king in my opinion. I am someone that always pushes back on people that rank him like middle of the pack, like above certain other kings, because Baelor does very little good in my opinion. And there's a reason as to why there is a conspiracy that he was actually killed by his own uncle. Let's just start off with, what was Baelor the Blessed doing that would have made him so unlikable to the lords and to Viserys as well, and try to paint a motive as to why Viserys would have killed him. So let's start off with, Baelor was somebody that had no plans for having an heir. He literally took his sisters and he put them in the maiden vault. He was just somebody that just was kind of going insane in my opinion. He tried to do some good things, but then he did it wrong. That's kind of like the big thing of Baelor. Sometimes he has good ideas, executes them horribly. So he tried to do what Stannis wanted to do in book 1 that we hear about, right? That Stannis wants to get away with doing prostitution, no more brothels. Well, Baelor did that exact same thing. Now, he was told not to do that because, again, it would hurt the revenue coming into the crown, and also it's something that would be very unpopular with a lot of people. Either way, Baelor was set in his ways, and he did it. In reality, yes, he did ban prostitution, but he also made all of these sex workers, people that were probably forced into that work, or this is the only way for them to find work and actually make a living, he forced them out of King's Landing. He made them go out into basically the wilderness with their children. He just did some horrible things in my opinion. And you even think about some of the things he was doing, replacing high septons with young children because they're either a good mason or they have healing hands or whatnot. He was just a king that almost seemed to be going mad. Some people speculated it was because of all the snake bites and the venom that he got in Dorne while saving Aemon the Dragon Knight. He was just somebody that Viserys, for one, could not control. He was making bad decision after bad decision. The Targaryen dynasty, if you were looking at it from a lord's perspective, was in a very shaky spot with a king that just, one, didn't listen to counsel, and two, was making bad decision after bad decision. There's many people that would have wanted Baelor the Blessed to be out of there. But the question is, would it have been Viserys? And that's to me where I really don't think so. I know that Viserys has all the motive in the world. If he was taking out Baelor, it was for the good of the realm type idea. It's kind of like what Bloodraven preaches, and there are a lot of similarities between Bloodraven and I think Viserys. But do I think Viserys took out his brother's son for the good of the realm to end the mockery that would have been happening to House Targaryen because of Baelor? I just don't think so. And I think personally, yes, there's so many times, and even Fire and Blood, where we see things like, oh, was somebody really fasting, or did they have this mysterious random death, or was it an assassination? We see that specifically with things like, the Maegor, Aenys, Jaehaerys reign. There's a lot of issues at Old Town, and things like that creep up. I don't think that Baelor was killed. I think it's much more interesting, and I think it's fulfilling to the character of Baelor that he died because of his own, blind faith and starving himself for long periods of time, that he died because of his own actions and because, well, he was kind of an idiot, in my opinion, and a very big extremist. And honestly, screw Baelor, because he burned all the cool books. So we could have gotten Septon Barth's book, talking about the worms and the dragons and all of his studies. Well, Baelor found that to be illicit and burned them, the mysteries that were there. He tried to burn all of Mushroom's tales. We just do not like Baelor on this channel. Now, I will say that it is convenient for Baelor's death, because the crown needed stability, right? What had we gotten after the dance? Aegon III's reign was not bad for the people of Westeros, but Aegon III himself wasn't much of a king. Viserys II was more ruling than Aegon was. Aegon was destroyed by kind of the events of the Dance of the Dragons. A big reason as to why the dragons end up dying out. I think there's some maester foul play involved there as well. You then go to his son Daeron, who was just solely working on trying to conquer Dorne, and that ended up getting him killed, increasing hostilities with Dorne, and rippling the people further apart from any type of unity with the Dornish and continuing war. Remember, Viserys is old enough to be alive when the dance happens, and only a few years later, you have Daeron invading Dorne. After you see Daeron's death, you have Baelor the Blessed, who once again is a pretty bad king, and he's not bringing stability really to Westeros. He's dividing people on their religion, something that the North would not enjoy. Many of the houses that didn't believe in the faith, especially like the Blackwoods, for instance, wouldn't really like Baelor all that much. And I think a lot of the High Lords would kind of see that this guy's not great for Westeros. And so if you're Viserys and you're sitting here, you're going, we've had a pretty bad string of kings. And if you're Viserys, he's been the hand of the king this whole time. He's basically been the ruler. It's the same idea of like Bloodraven being the king for Aerys the First. Bloodraven was really the person ruling. The same thing can apply to Viserys for a number of reigns. And so, in a lot of ways, all the pieces are there. But the question is, what do you think of Viserys II? Do you think he was willing to kill Baelor, or was it natural occurrences? It's an interesting question, because I think you're in a Targaryen period where you don't really, unfortunately, have another good king until Daeron II. Now, yes, I think Viserys was a good king, but he only rules for a short amount of time, likely because he actually was poisoned. But that's for another, video. It's unfortunate because you run into this string of pretty mediocre to bad kings right in a row. It's quite ironic that Jaehaerys' reign, seen as the greatest Targaryen king, directly after him, it takes a very long time until we really see another good Targaryen king. And there's so very few within the Targaryen dynasty as a whole. But let me know what you guys think about Viserys II, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye, guys.